Hey peeps, in today's tutorial I'll be going over some key areas within the KnoMoon.jar model pack. Hopefully it'll help some people who may be struggling in some areas. These key areas include retexturing the moon plus sun and animating the phases, how to use some of the model's keyframes, retexturing models, fixing alpha glitches, models with toggleable parts, how to use some of the model's particle effects, and some extra information that may help you with your animations or renders. Like last time, I'll be covering these in both the old and new UIs of Mine-imator, so no matter what version you're currently using, you'll still know what to do. There'll be timestamps in the description below for those who need to get to a specific part within this tutorial. If by any chance you're still having trouble within the model pack, please feel free to let me know down below or give me a quick message or DM on Discord, which will also be linked down below, so I can try my best to help you out. Let's get into this tutorial. So to retexture the moon and sun, where's the sun? There it is. You can go to environment, and then for the sun, just go to browse, and then in the model pack go to sun phases, and select which sun you'd like. Go for that one. You cannot animate the phases on this. I just tried like a few minutes ago just to test things out. So that's like a one texture thing. But for the moon, you can go to the moon phases in the file, and I've given you previews as there's quite a lot of moons to choose from, so you have a rough idea of which moon you're picking. I'm gonna go for core blue, fully set to nighttime. As you can see, it's already worked, and you can change the phases. And to animate the phases, go to the workbench, environment, which is down here, create, and then select the random phase, random forgotten the word for that, and what's it called again? Keyframe, and just pick a random, and you should be able to animate the phases. So to retexture and animate the phases on the old UI of Mine-imator, for the sun we go to background and sun texture, and we just browse, and again we go to the pack files, sun phases, and then just pick a random sun. And then for the moon, we go to moon texture, browse, moon phases, again there's previews here if you need them, and forgot how long this takes to load. And now you can select through the different phases. And to animate the phases, like I said, you can't do it the sun, but the moon you can. Go to the workbench and go to the sun icon, aka background, create, and create a keyframe. Select the random phase, go to a different keyframe, and select the random phase, and you can animate the phases for the moon. So for the keyframes, I have kindly went out my way and made some custom keyframes for some of the models. So if you go to import assets, or on where is it, here, on the old UI, go to import an asset. If you go to the files, I might display what models have keyframes so you have a rough idea, but I'm going to use the broken command block. To use the keyframes, you'll have to open the MI object. If you don't want the keyframes, just feel free to open the model, the actual MI model, but if you would like the keyframes, go for the MI object, and it should be preloaded with keyframes for you to use in your animations. So in the model pack, some of the models can be retextured. So if we in the new UI go to File, Import Asset, select any model. Not all of them will have retextures, but I'll go for this one. That's a soul. And to retexture them, go to library, the model you want to retexture, texture, browse, and select what you'd like. And that's how you retexture it in the new UI. In the old UI, go to import an asset, go to the files, select the model that potentially may have a reskin, open it, and then go to library, model you want to retexture, texture, browse, and select the file. So sometimes when using the models you'll experience some alpha glitches. This is due to some of the models having transparent pixels, and sometimes it can cause issues like this. So to fix this, click on the model, go to appearance, and just quickly adjust the render depth to 1 and then back to 0, and it should fix the problem. And to do this in the old UI on Mine-imator, select the model, go to graphics, and then with render depth just put 1 and back to 0, and it should fix the issue. So within the model pack there's a few models that have toggleable parts. These are just the examples I picked. So for underscore, his sensor is toggleable. And parts that are toggleable I've put in brackets and put toggleable, so you know that you can turn them on and off. If you are using it in an animation, I'd suggest going to keyframe settings and setting the visible, because that can actually affect your timeline so it can be animated. So but if it's for vendors, just toggle it from here. And then for the administrator, his eye is toggleable. Again, for animations, use keyframe settings, or for vendors, just use the hide. And for, which one's this one again? The void. His eyes are toggleable, right here. And you can also toggle his axe on and off. That's just a few models, but that just shows you, so you know what's toggleable and how you can do in animations and renders. And for the old UI, to toggle things in animation, go to keyframe and visible, and for renders just hide it from here. So to use the particles, there's two different types of particles within this model pack. A set of particles that are used for appearing and disappearing, and there's another one that just constantly keeps spawning. So the first one, if you go to File, Import Asset, this one's the appearing disappearing effect. I'd recommend dragging this to the body, so it's in the middle of the model. And if I quickly make a keyframe here, particles appear but then they disappear with the model. I'm going to quickly drag this here so it makes more sense for it to disappear. But if you go to Herency and toggle off visibility, it will not disappear with the model, so when it disappears they stay there. And for the constant spawning particles, which is this one, in order to see them in this version you'll need to play the animation. But first just drag it to the body and you'll have some particles around it that will be constantly spawning. And to use the particles in this version, old UI, click on import an asset, and then, where's my example here? Just click on a particle effect and basically just do the exact same thing on the one I just showed previously. Drag this to the body and should work. Some models in the model pack will have a customizable item frame, not item frames, item sheets. For example, I'll show a few models that have these, but it's basically to make them better to animate with. So if you go to item, it's the same with the old version of Mine-imator as well, old UI, and you can animate the faces pretty easily. Underscore has a staring phase. If you get too close to him, he will disappear. He also has a stalking phase where he will just follow the player, and then in some cases he will cause a hunt, which I'll show now. And sometimes he'll also take his sensor off when chasing you, and you cannot look away from him either, so. Kid also has a jump scare phase. Usually happens within a couple of minutes in the beginning of the game. With the antivirus, it can be used with the void alter, so you can interact with the block. As you can see, without using the antivirus you can't interact, but then when you use the antivirus you can use it. Something I didn't notice on now is that there's also a Billy fight apparently. I don't really know enough information about this, as this is my first time seeing this, but if you want to animate a Billy boss fight, here. Game over will spawn when you run out of time to do a specific task, and when you touch him, he will crash your game, which I'll show in a second. And when you try to rejoin your game, you've basically been banned and you can no longer join in again. Lesser Soul can only spawn in the dark, and he will slowly follow the player till they get close. He will then display a found you screen and will freeze for a few seconds or turn in black, and he will give chase. Nothing is real basically does nothing. It will stand there while shaking, and when you get too close will later disappear with no trace. Player 1 will slowly walk up to the player, but when you get too close he will disappear. Player 101 will always follow the player while also having the player's name tag. If you're currently wearing anything and have two things or whatever in your hands, he will spawn with those items you have. If you get too close to the alone, he will cause chase. And while he's chasing you, in this chasing phase, he now has a big red eye on his face. The light spawns very high up from the ground and will play some Morse code. I went out my way to translate the Morse code and it reads, "Help me, I'm in eternal pain, please I beg you," and will disappear once the Morse code is over. If you get too close to Stalk, he will disappear, but if you look at him, he will crash your game, but will not ban you from it. If you manage to kill the Void, you can spawn him back again with the reincarnation. You'll have to destroy the core in order for him to spawn, so you'll have to wait a few seconds till he drops down. While he drops down, he'll play some boss theme music. And once you get him to halfway health, his pupils will disappear and he will now have an axe in his hand. That wraps up for this tutorial. Hopefully I've managed to help you out with any problems you were having within the model pack. Again, if by any chance you're still having trouble, either leave a comment down below or give me a quick message or DM on Discord. Catch you later, peeps.